My name is Carrara. I am 27 years old. I live in a big house with my parents, but I do not feel at home there. My parents like big rooms, big cars, and big parties. They think money can fix everything. They think money can give peace, but I know it cannot. Every week they plan a new event. Every week they invite many rich people. Every week they say the same thing to me. Look perfect, smile, and make us proud. I hear these words again and again until I feel tired inside. One morning I woke up and saw 10 messages from my mother. She wrote, "Remember the party tomorrow. Many important guests will come. Be ready." My head felt heavy. I sat on my bed and looked at the screen. Why do they not ask me what I want? Why do they only tell me what they want? I put my phone down and looked out the window. The sky was bright and soft, but my heart was not. My parents want me to marry a rich man named Oliver. He is young, tall, and always wears shiny clothes. People in our circle call him a good match, but he is not a good match for me. When he talks to me, he only speaks about his cars, his hotels, and his trips. He never asks about my life. He never listens when I speak. He just smiles and talks about himself. My parents say I should be happy with him because he has money and status. They say he can give me a safe future. But I do not want a safe future if it is empty. I want someone who stays with me because he cares, not because it looks good in photos. My father always says, "You will thank us later." My mother says, "You do not understand life yet." Every word makes me feel small. I want to make my own choice. I want to choose love, not fear. But in my house, my voice seems too quiet. That afternoon, I sat in the living room while workers prepared things for the party. They moved chairs, carried lights, and talked about the menu. Everyone was busy except me. I felt like a guest in my own life. Then something strange happened. A thought came to me fast and strong. I wanted to smile, but I tried to hide it. What if I play a small trick, just one? What if I bring someone to the party and surprise my parents? Maybe then they will stop telling me what to do. Maybe then they will see I have my own mind, but who could help me? I did not want someone from my world. I wanted someone different, someone who would not fear my parents or act like them. I left the house and walked to the park. Near the main road, the air was warm and soft. Children were playing on the grass. Birds were moving near the trees. I walked to the small pond in the center of the park. Then I saw him. A man sat on a bench near the water. His clothes were old and a little dirty. His shoes looked worn. He held a small bag beside him. He looked calm and quiet. He was not asking for money or food. He was just sitting and looking at the pond, as if the world did not push him the way it pushed me. For a moment, I wanted to walk away, but something told me to stay. I looked at him again. He looked back. His eyes were dark but soft. I felt something. Maybe not fear, not worry, but curiosity. I walked closer and said, "Hello." He looked surprised. I think people do not speak to him often. I took a deep breath. My voice felt strange, but I said, "I need help." He said nothing, but he listened. I told him there was a party tomorrow. I told him my parents wanted me to spend the night with Oliver. I told him I did not want that. Then I said the idea out loud for the first time. "I want you to come with me. Please. Pretend to be my boyfriend for one night." He blinked and looked at me as if he wanted to laugh. "Are you serious?" he asked. "Yes," I said. "I can pay you. I only need one night." He stopped smiling. His face became calm again. "Why me?" he asked. I looked at the pond and said, "Because you are not from my world. You will not try to impress anyone. You will not try to act rich. You will just be you." He looked at me for a long moment. Then he said, "If you are sure I can help." My heart jumped. I felt a strange mix of fear and joy. I thanked him and gave him the time and address. He told me his name was Milan. It was a simple name. I liked it. The next day passed slowly. I told my driver to pick Milan up from the park. When the car reached my house, two assistants looked at him with wide eyes. They whispered to each other. One said, "Who is that?" "His clothes look terrible," I said. "He is my guest. Please help him prepare." They took him inside. I heard them talk about hair, clothes, and shoes. I could feel their confusion, but for the first time in a long time, I felt calm. Hours later, I was waiting in my room when I heard a knock. I opened the door. My mouth almost opened in shock. I did not recognize him at first. Milan now wore clean, simple clothes. His hair was neat. His shoes were new. But more than all that, his face looked fresh and bright. He smiled and said, "Is this good for the role?" I felt warm inside and said, "Yes, it is perfect." We left for the party. The car moved through the city lights. I did not know this man well, but I felt safe near him. I felt like I could breathe. When we arrived at the party, music filled the hall. The room was full of people in soft suits and bright dresses. When we stepped inside, the music stopped for a second. People turned to look at us. My parents stood near the main table. Their eyes grew sharp and cold. My mother asked in a low voice, "Carrera." "Who is this?" I said. "This is my boyfriend. His name is Milan." My father stared at him from head to toe. He said nothing. Then Oliver walked toward us with a hard smile. He looked angry. "So this is your boyfriend?" he asked. "He looks very different." I was about to speak, but Milan spoke first. "Maybe I do not have much," he said, "but I have respect." The room became quiet. I felt my heart beat fast in my chest. My father finally said, "Dinner is ready. Sit." Milan and I sat next to each other. People kept looking at us, but Milan stayed calm. He did not fidget. He did not look scared. He just sat with quiet eyes as if he belonged there, but the calm did not last. Oliver came to our table again. His face was red now. He said, "You think this man can replace me? You are making a joke, Carrara." Before I could answer, my father said, "Enough, come with me." He took my arm and led me outside to the garden. His voice was low but sharp. "This ends tonight. You will not embarrass our family." My hands shook, but I kept my head up. I said, "This is not a joke. I just want to choose my own life." My father stared at me. He had never heard me speak like this. Before he could reply, I heard steps behind me. It was Milan. He said, "Sir, please listen to her." My father turned to him with anger in his eyes. "You do not belong here," he said. Milan looked at him and said, "Maybe not, but she asked me to come, so I am here." My father did not answer. He turned away and walked back to the house. The garden became quiet. I let out a slow breath. I looked at Milan. "Thank you," I said. "You did not have to do that." He looked at me as if he wanted to tell me something. That is when his face changed. He said, "Kara, there is something you do not know about me," before he could finish, someone called my name from inside the house. Before I continue rest of the story, please like, subscribe, share, and tell me where you are listening from. Your support means a lot to me. Now let's continue. I turned to the house when I heard my mother call my name, but my mind stayed on Milan's last words. There is something you do not know about me. The way he said it made my heart feel tight. I wanted to ask him what he meant, but the moment was gone. I took a slow breath and walked back inside. The lights were bright again, the music soft, the people loud, but inside me everything felt quiet and unsure. My mother walked to me fast, her face looked calm in front of the guests, but her eyes were sharp. She said, "Smile, Carrera, people are watching." She held my arm too tightly. I pulled my arm away and said, "I am fine." Then she looked past me toward Milan, who was still standing near the door. Her face changed again. She whispered, "You must end this." "Not now, not ever. Bring that man near us and you will destroy our name." I felt a wave of heat in my chest. For years I stayed silent. For years I said nothing. But tonight something in me changed. I said, "He is not hurting anyone. He is my guest." My mother looked shocked. She opened her mouth to speak, but a group of guests walked by. So she smiled. Again, like nothing was wrong. She said, "We will talk later." Then she moved away. I stood alone for a moment. I looked at the room. People whispered to each other and stared at Milan. Their eyes were full of questions. Who is he? Why is he here? How does he know her? I felt sad. Why do people think only money makes a person important? Why do they judge before they listen? Milan walked toward me. His steps were slow and calm. He said, "Are you okay?" I nodded, but he saw the truth in my face. He said, "Your parents are angry." "I can leave if you want." I shook my head. "No. Stay, you did nothing wrong." He looked down for a moment, then back at me. He said softly, "You are stronger than you think." We went back to our seats. People still stared, but I tried to ignore them. A waiter brought food to our table. Milan thanked him with a warm smile. I saw the waiter's eyes soften. Someone in this room finally treated him like a real person. When we started eating, Oliver came. Again, he took a seat across from us without asking. His voice was low and angry. "This is not funny, Carrara." I did not answer. I kept looking at my plate. Oliver leaned closer and said, "You think this man cares about you? He is here for your money." I lifted my head. I said, "You do not know him." Oliver laughed. He said, "People like him always want something." Before I could speak, Milan looked at him calmly and said, "Maybe you should look at yourself first." Oliver's face turned red. He stood up and walked away fast. People looked at him, then at us, then whispered even more. I felt my face warm with stress, but Milan stayed steady. After dinner, some guests went outside to the garden. Some danced, some took photos. I wanted a moment alone, so I walked toward the back door. Milan followed me a few steps behind, giving me space, but staying close enough to help if something happened. I liked that. It made me feel safe, not controlled. Outside, the air was fresh. The lights in the garden were soft and warm. I sat on a small bench near a tall plant. Milan stood near me, waiting quietly. I looked up at him and said, "You wanted to tell me something earlier." What was it? He sat down slowly beside me. His hands were on his lap. His voice was low. I was not always like this, he said. I looked at him confused. He continued, 1 year ago my life was very different. I had money, a home, a job in a big company, a car, everything. My heart jumped. This was not what I expected. Why did you leave it? I asked. He looked at the garden lights like they could tell him what to say. He said, my life was full, but I was not. I did not know who liked me for me. People were kind when I had money. They were cold when I did not. I wanted to know how people treat a man with nothing. So I left everything. I lived on the street. I worked small jobs. I slept in parks. I wanted to see the truth. I stared at him. My chest felt heavy, but not in a bad way. It felt like something inside me was opening. I said, so when I met you, you were. He finished my sentence. Yes, I was living simple. I was learning how people look at someone who has no money. I felt something warm spread through me. I asked, why did you help me then? Why say yes? He looked at me with soft eyes. When you spoke to me, you did not look away. You did not judge my clothes. You did not speak with fear or pride. You were just real. I liked that. My eyes filled with tears. Not sad tears, just full tears, I said. But why did you not tell me earlier? He smiled gently. You did not ask who I was. You only asked for help. I wanted to see where your heart is. I was not testing you. I was testing myself. I felt my heart beat faster. I looked at him for a long moment. I wanted to say something, but the words stayed inside. Before I could speak, the garden door opened. It was my father. His face was tight with anger. He walked toward us. His voice was cold. Kara, come inside. Now, I stood up, but Milan stood up too. I could feel the tension in the air. My father looked at Milan and said, you are not welcome here. You must leave at once. Milan did not move. He did not look afraid. He said, sir, I mean no harm. I am here because she asked me. My father stepped closer. His voice became louder. Leave now. My breath shook. I wanted to speak, but fear held my mouth. I felt small again. I felt like the same girl who never had a voice, but Milan stood calm beside me. He did not raise his voice. He did not step back. He said, she is not a child. Let her speak. And that moment, something inside me changed again. I took a slow breath. I looked at my father. And I finally spoke, but the night was not over. The truth was coming, but not yet. Not here. I looked at my father. My hands were shaking, but this time I did not hide them. I took a slow breath. I said, Father, please listen. I am not a child. I can make my own choices. My father's face changed. He looked hurt, surprised, and angry. At once, he said, Kara, you do not understand. Life, this man has nothing. He cannot give you a future. You are making a mistake. For many years, I stayed quiet when he spoke like this, but not tonight. I said, maybe he has no money. But he has honesty. He listens. He treats people with respect. I need that more than a big house. My voice was small, but it was clear. My father did not expect that. He stepped back a little. The garden became silent. Even the music inside the house sounded far away. My mother came outside. She saw us and hurried over. She said, Kara, stop this. People will talk. Think of our name. Think of our family. I turned to her. I said, I am thinking of myself for the first time. My mother looked at me as if she did not know who I was. I felt my chest hurt, but I kept speaking. I said, I am tired of doing what looks good. I want what feels true. My mother looked at my father. They stayed quiet for a moment. Then my father said softly, come inside, we will talk tomorrow. His voice was not angry now. It was tired. He walked away with my mother. For the first time in my life, I saw fear in their steps, fear of losing control, fear of losing me. When they went back into the house, the garden felt quiet again. I sat on the bench slowly. My heart felt weak but also free. Milan sat beside me. He asked, are you okay? I nodded, yes, but my voice shook. I looked up at the sky and said, I never spoke to them like that before. Milan smiled a little. He said, you were brave. I turned to him. The question in my heart came out before I could stop it. I said, what will you do now? Will you go back to your old life? Will you return to your world? Milan looked at the lights in the garden again. He took a deep breath. He said, I am not sure. My old life had money and power, but it had no peace. This simple life showed me who I really am. I asked, do you want to stay simple forever? He looked at me with warm eyes. He said, maybe I can live in both worlds. Maybe I can work again, but with a new heart. Maybe I can build something honest this time. I liked the sound of that. It felt real. Not big, not loud, just real. Then he looked at me more closely. He said, but I need to ask you something too. My heart began to beat fast. I said, what is it? He said, if I return to my old life, will you think I am a different man? If I stay simple, will you think I am not enough? I felt my eyes fill with soft tears. I said, I do not care if you have money or not. I cared when you listened to me. I cared when you stood beside me. That is enough. For me, Milan let out a slow breath like he had been holding it inside for a long time. We sat in silence for a moment. Then the garden door opened again. It was Oliver. His face was not angry now. It was confused. Almost lost. He said, Kara, I need to talk to you. I stood up, but Milan stayed beside me. Oliver looked at him and said, not with him. I shook my head. I said, if you want to talk, say it here. Oliver looked down. He said, I did not want to hurt you. I just thought we were a good match. Our families wanted it. People expected it. I said, that is the problem. I do not want a life that is only expectations. I want a life that feels true. Oliver nodded slowly. He looked tired. He said, I understand now. Then he walked away. For the first time, I felt no anger toward him, only relief. When he left, the garden became quiet. Again, Milan looked at me. His voice was soft. He said, what will you do now? I looked at the house. I could see shadows of guests moving inside. I could hear soft music. But I did not feel pulled toward it. I said, I will live my own life. I will choose for myself. He smiled. A warm, gentle smile. He said, then you already took the first step. We walked toward the main gate of my house. The night air was cool and soft. When we reached the gate, he stopped. He said, if you want me to stay in your life, I will. If you want me to go back and build a new path, I will do that too. Just say the word. I looked at him, this man who had nothing when I met him. gave me something no one else ever gave me. Choice, freedom, respect. I said stay, let us see where life takes us. One day at a time, Milan nodded and took my hand. Not tightly, not with fear, just with quiet trust. We walked into the night away from the noise, away from the old rules, away from the life others planned for me. I did not know what future waited for us, but I knew one thing. For the first time in my life, the choice was mine. Thank you for listening to this story. If you enjoyed this story, please like the video and subscribe to English Medium Stories. Stay with us for more classic stories in Easy English.